Welcome to Chapter 2 of Confessions of a Marketing AI Scientist, the only surefire way to make money in the AI ChatGPT era. Now, this chapter isn't necessary for your success, so skip it if you aren't interested in my soap opera. Over the past decade, I've made great money online and continue to do so, but it was a bitch getting to this stage. In the beginning, though working my ass off, I made mistake after mistake, and I lost far more than I made. While losing money is never appealing, the one upside is that I learned a goodly amount about a large breadth of topics. Instead of hiring someone else for a job task, I acquired the required skill along the way. And while that resulted in much pain and frustration, I eventually became almost entirely self-sufficient in my making money online journey. However, you don't have to take that route. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it. You can definitely be successful in internet marketing without working so hard that your brain turns to mush and you start shouting at the moon. My work career has been long and varied. Back in the late 80s, not long before Guido van Rossum released the first version of Python, I trained as a software developer at Control Data in Atlanta, Georgia. For a trade school, they had top-notch instructors and a rigorous curriculum. For 2 years, I studied computer science as well as C, Pascal, and COBOL. Unfortunately, I wasn't enough of a visionary to anticipate how a soon-to-be invention called the World Wide Web would eventually disrupt everything. If so, I would have remained in the coding industry and worked my way up so that when the day of reckoning came and the dark cyber beast took over the world, I'd be poised to ride it bareback and get filthy rich in short order. Alas, upon graduating, I decided that I wasn't interested in building business software and went in another direction, cutting my dev career short before it even got started. Though more than a decade later, when I finally figured out that the internet was a game changer and here to stay, my previous tech training did come in handy. As the new millennium dawned, I owned a plumbing company that was heavily invested in phone book advertising, aka the Yellow Pages. Hell, practically all of us business owners were back then. They dominated advertising. In most industries, you didn't have much of a choice if you wanted to scale. The internet was gaining steam, but as hard as it might be to envision today, most people still let their fingers do the walking and grab the Yellow Pages when they needed an electrician or flower shop. Telecommunication companies like Verizon and AT&T, which at the time also fleeced you by charging exorbitant rates for long-distance phone calls, they published the Yellow Pages, and for many decades, they had the business world by the balls. It was around the summer of 2004 when I first noticed that our number of incoming service calls was slowing down. Over the next few months, it became apparent that this wasn't merely a blip. More and more people were using the internet as their phone books. Ensnared in yearly contracts, all of us business owners, we were pissed off that we'd spent significant coin in a form of advertising that was rapidly becoming obsolete. As the number of consumers online steadily increased and companies started decreasing their Yellow Page presence, the telecoms got into internet marketing hot and heavy. And in the beginning, they did have a distinct advantage. Turns out that didn't last long, though. After inflicting a last few eye gouges on the public, the wall started to crumble and their monopoly broke. For the first time, business owners could directly reach consumers without forking over exorbitant sums of money to the Yellow Page overlords. Victory was attainable. Freedom was ours. That is, if you knew what you were doing. If not, there were plenty of newly formed internet companies eager to gobble up your marketing budget without any guarantees of success. The early days of internet marketing were as lawless and terrifying as the Wild West. Now, personally, I did not know what I was doing. Though I fervently wished to generate my own online leads, I had no clue how to do so. URL, SEO, cost per click, what were these alien terms? It became my mission to conquer this strange new world. And I suppose I could have turned to YouTube or munched on popcorn while watching Udemy and Coursera videos. But the problem was, they didn't yet exist. Back then, finding info was rarely a simple matter. In most cases, it was hard as hell. Woe to you if you didn't own a good set of encyclopedias or have a demented genius uncle that you kept chained in the basement. The internet eventually changed that, but not all at once. In the early 2000s, if you were an ignorant clod like me, creating a website was only slightly less daunting than building the Great Wall of China. But most of the information was there if you looked hard enough. and were willing to sacrifice yourself on Tim Berners-Lee digital altar. I became obsessed, so much that I soon lost any interest in running my bricks and mortar company and only wanted to make money online. It was a modern day gold rush, and I charged forth with a virtual pickaxe in my hands and zeal in my eyes. Back in those days, if you were inflamed with internet entrepreneurial passions, it was inevitable that you'd run into the warrior form. If the internet was the Wild West, the warrior form was as dangerous as Tombstone, Deadwood, and El Paso combined. Thankfully, I made it out alive, stumbling out of town on my last legs. I'll expound more on that topic later. Eventually, I decided that I'd create a bunch of mini websites in verticals like landscaping, plumbing, and pest control. Get them ranked in the search engines, and then rent the sites to local businesses in the 100 most populous geolocations in the nation. That shit took me forever to set up. For my digital assets, I had to learn subjects like SEO, HTML, CSS, hosting, and what CMS platform to use, as well as offline concerns like client acquisition and management, pricing, billing, call routing. The list of areas to learn wasn't endless, but it seemed like it. On any given day, I could be squeezing in an SEO webinar by Matt Cutts of Google between sessions of learning WordPress and cold calling clients that informed them about a wonderful new opportunity that they could get customers. My first real job had been as a stockbroker, so prospecting unannounced didn't faze me in the least. I'm the kind of freak who, when I was working summer jobs in college as a B2B outside salesman, would first choose the doors with no soliciting signs. Looking back, taking on a project of such a large scope and doing it all by myself was preposterous. I nearly drove myself crazy, and that's not hyperbole. A big reason for that is because I fought a perfectionist streak, an insidious demon that seeks to destroy anything in its path. Overall, I did make money during that time, into six figures annually during its peak. Of course, when you factored in all the toil, I was earning about 32 cents an hour. Until I later studied to become a data scientist. That period was by far the most intense education that I'd ever experienced. Along with my SEO endeavor, I experimented with several other online money-making strategies too. Some worked, most didn't, but I steadily increased my personal knowledge base. That went on until 2014 when I discovered real-time bidding, RTB. After riding the SEO train for about 8 years, I'd grown weary of managing 100 plus clients. Real-time bidding was a game changer. Much how the internet shifted power from the telecoms to regular peeps, RTB and programmatic advertising let you bypass media buyers and using a demand-side platform by advertising directly from publishers. Today, RTB's potency has been severely hampered, but it's an important topic in the history of internet marketing, and I'll touch on it again later when discussing privacy laws and the demise of third-party cookies. Although I successfully used RTB to drive traffic to my clients, my frustrations grew as it became increasingly clear that, though I was a techie by nature, at present I didn't have enough specialized knowledge to make a significant impact on back-end fulfillment, on the actual traffic generation. The truth of the matter was, I could put lipstick, a little black dress, and high heels on my abilities, but I wasn't capable of much more than funneling results to my clients. In fact, the only time that I actually drove semi-decent traffic myself then is when I'd done the SEO to rank my local websites. Besides that, I was still mainly a client-facing guy. I was not yet what I consider a full-stack marketer, somebody who can deal with clients on the front end and create the tools, processes, apps, etc. that actually get the work done. Those dudes are the kingpins in the internet marketing world, in a restaurant analogy being both the chef and the maitre d'. IM is filled with people who are barely tech literate, but they're entrepreneurial and can sell. They work in more of a general manager capacity, are the face of the product, and hire everybody they need to bring a money-making campaign to market. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but they're vulnerable because they don't do much, if any, production themselves. Back-end headaches continually crop up. They're forced to manage areas that they don't know much about. In theory, learning to do everything myself not only allowed me to keep quality high and cost low, but during the times when I did sub something out, I could effectively manage it because I knew how to do it. The problem was that everything wasn't really everything. My programming skills were outdated. Besides HTML and CSS, which aren't full-fledged languages, I'd forgotten more than I remembered about coding. Sure, I was much further along than those tech challenge general manager types, but I was still vulnerable, still unable to really solve anything when problems arose on the production side. I was still at the mercy of others. I thought about taking a year and going all in on learning to become a dev. I'd be able to create the products on the back end, hawk them on the front. That made a lot of sense. But there was something else that piqued my interest even more. Suddenly, everybody seemed to be talking about AI and data science. The titles alone sounded cool as hell. After finding more about the field, I plunged into a chasm deeper than anything I'd ever experienced before. Although I had some existing passive campaigns that I kept going, almost all of my time and attention was on learning how to be a data scientist. In particular, a marketing data scientist. Predictably, I wasn't satisfied with only specializing in a portion of data science like most data scientists do. I wanted to be able to do it all. I spent at least 10 hours, usually 12 or more, every single day learning topics like linear algebra, calculus, probability and statistics, Python programming, databases, cloud computing, you name it. I got in so deep that I thought about jumping off a bridge a few times, but maintained just enough sanity to stay dry. After a year of full immersion, I hoped that I knew enough to not fuck things up too badly, and I set out to get a client. And that didn't take long because I initially worked for free. It seemed like the best way to get some real-world experience and some references. While I made plenty of little mistakes along the way, my client didn't really care much because I wasn't charging them, and my efforts, they brought in an insight or two, from which they were able to make several profitable data-driven decisions. And I briefly considered hiring on with the company as a junior data scientist, but I'd been doing my own thing for so long that I knew I'd be a shitty employee and chafe at following others' directions. My pro bono work went well enough that I figured I might be able to wildcat it and go out and try to get paying clients in a couple of niches. I was mostly convinced that, one, I wouldn't embarrass myself, and two, I'd eventually make some righteous bucks in. In the beginning, not only did I work for free, I spent some of my own money too. However, once I started making a significant impact and had achieved a position of strength, I started charging fees, and I haven't looked back. The income stream of a few satisfied clients was well and good, but it's how I scaled up those campaigns and considerably increased my profits without substantially increasing my workload that made me decide to write a book. For me, the goal has always been about building internet income generating machines and making money as passively as I could. Now that I've done so, life sucks a whole lot less, and I won't ever return to grinding out an unleveraged living. Assuming, of course, that AI doesn't enslave us or cyber criminals don't destroy civilization and bring all of us to our knees. Singing for my supper every damn night has never interested me, and honestly, I'd done it too many times in my life before I finally started enjoying the level of success that I'd long envisioned. If you're also tired of waking up with sore vocal cords, if you're ready to implement a strategy where you gain both financial freedom and a peace of mind, then sucking up the knowledge in this book and video series is a damn good decision. Now, can I guarantee your success? Absolutely not. While my system, my way of making money online unequivocally works, whether you're going to get off your ass and commit to action is another matter entirely. Do or do not. The choice is yours. For a limited time, Confessions of a Marketing AI Scientist, the only surefire way to make money online in the AI ChatGPT era, is free. That's right, it is free. Go to confessions.ai right now. That is confessions.ai to get your free copy. What are you waiting on? Go.